Welcome to the Realtor Who Wines podcast. I'm Rashelle Newmyer, your hostess with the mostest, a student of life, a connector, a passionate wine enthusiast, and your local favorite guide. Join me as we explore the vibrant Pacific Northwest, savor the finest wines, and champion the spirit of entrepreneurship. Each episode, I'll sit down with inspiring guests, supporting business ownership, and uncovering the stories that make this community unique. So grab a glass of wine, settle in, and let's embark on a journey of discovery and connection together. Cheers! Thank you so much for being here with me today, Dr. Tony. I appreciate it. Cheers to you.
Cheers. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, so these are plastic. I was expecting the clink of glass there.
I know. Well, and I did that on purpose, learning on the podcast, like sitting it down is loud when it's glass and then the clinking. Oh. So, and it is a skill set to learn to drink with the mic right here. So when it was glass, I kept hitting the mic and I was like, ding, ding, ding.
Okay, so, tricks of the trade. Yeah, I didn't know. Love it.
All things we learned during season 1. Will you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Absolutely. So I'm Dr. Tony Kelly. I am the 2026 President of Oregon REALTORS. I'm also a realtor. So I've been going into my 24th year in real estate. I'm the co-founder and co-owner of Keller Williams Realty, Portland Premier. Mm-hmm.
And the immediate past president?
And the immediate past president for Portland Metropolitan Association of Realtors, where I did a 2-year stint, and I'm doing a 2-year stint right now, Oregon Realtors. So this is a 4-year journey I've been in for president. So
I love it. We are going to talk a lot about real estate today, but we are drinking free wine because Tony is training for a race. Will you talk a little bit about your race journey and your running journey?
So, well, it's interesting you say my running journey because so I've been running for a long time. For those who know me, know that I'm a daily runner. Mm-hmm. I call it what's actually called a streak runner, but I don't run in the nude. Right. But we have an association called the United States Running Streak Association. Mm-hmm. And currently, as I just looked last week, I'm 119 in the world on that amazing streak. So on March 17th, which is coming up next week, knock on wood, if I don't get hurt, I will hit 20 years without missing a single day of running.
That is so impressive. How do you develop that kind of dedication?
Well,
and discipline. Really, discipline's the bigger word.
Discipline. I would say a lot of that has to go back to my past career in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. So I was active duty Air Force, went to the Air Force Academy. So discipline is just kind of, par for the course. Yeah. So discipline's never been an issue for me at all. Mm-hmm. I think my friends and family would actually say I'm probably a little too disciplined in some regards, like this running streak, which can be really inconvenient for family members and friends. So. Sure.
Well, and what was it about wanting to make that commitment to run every day? Was there something that sparked that in you, or was it I've done this 10 days in a row. Let's see how long I can go. And now you're at 20.
Great question. It was actually an article in I think it was Runner's World magazine. Mm-hmm. So at that time, this is 20 years ago, I was doing some daily weekend races, just fun runs. Sure. I had done hood to coast multiple times. Mm-hmm. So I was reading this article about these weird people who literally run every single day. And I was like, that is crazy. And I wasn't these guys are just the weirdos of the running world. Yeah. But then on reflection, I was like, I wonder if I can go 30 days in a row. Mm-hmm. That means no recovery days, no off days. And I was like, I wonder if I can do that. So I did it. And, again, people who know me, they know I love a challenge as well. So I made it 30 days. And then it's I wonder if I can do 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then I made it 6 months. I was like, well, choose. At this point, I got to go a year. Yeah. Got to go a year. So I made it to the year, and that was 20 years ago. So I haven't stopped.
That's amazing. I love that. Is there anything about running that helps you with your business? Does it give you a time to reflect? Is it a time where you just shut down and it's a you time?
That's what it is. Mm-hmm. You nailed it. It's literally my time, my me time. Mm-hmm. I just completely get to check out mentally and just not think. A lot of people are oh, well, are you pondering this or are you planning on? It's no, I'm not thinking about anything when I'm running at all. It's just I just run. Just go. And that's one of the things I love about trail running. So in the last 3-4 years, I've really gotten into trail running, partly because I'm getting old. And so the road is just a lot more taxing for me, whereas the trail is just a little more forgiving. I'm not so concerned about my pace.
Oh, okay.
I'm really concerned about like that tree root and those rocks.
That's what I was just going to say.
And falling off the side of the hill, the mountain and just falling down. So you're locked in, you're focused, and you just kind of enjoy. We're in Oregon. It's just gorgeous to run.
There's so many
trails here. Yeah. So, it's just a little different. So I've kind of retired from the road, I think.
Yeah, that's so funny. I prefer the road because I'm so clumsy. I'm nervous about the trail runs. And I'd be like, is that a snake? Was that a snake? Like the whole
You do come across those.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Anybody, before we dive into real estate stuff, any tips or tricks or advice you would give somebody that's like thinking about getting into running, or is like a mile just seems so far to them, like some getting started tips?
I would say probably do the run walk technique.
Yeah. Jeff Galloway
type situation. Just try to one, give yourself a lot of grace and understand that it will come pretty quickly. But those first couple times out, you're going to feel like absolute crap.
Yeah.
Don't give up. And if you've got to walk, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, like, unless you're a professional runner, nobody cares about your pace.
Yeah.
That being said, stay off of don't judge yourself based on social media, because right now there's this whole running culture on social media where everybody's like posting their Strava times and they're like mile 1 and they're running with their phone, mile 2, and they're making it one. A lot of them are fake. You know, it's like you're not running 26 miles this morning before you go to work. That's just BS. I was I'm not buying it, right? And especially like they're not sweating or anything.
Yeah,
or
makeup's perfect.
Yeah, and they're showing like they're running at like this 5-minute pace. It's like, get the hell out of here. So
no one's buying it.
Don't judge yourself by any of that stuff. So, and I would also say the big thing is invest in a good pair of shoes.
Oh, for sure.
Do not go with the shoes that are cute or that are on sale. Literally invest in a good pair of shoes.
Yeah. Well, and I think what some non-runners don't know is like your feet tend to swell up a little bit too.
Absolutely.
So actually getting like a half a size bigger. So especially on the longer runs, that gives you a little bit more cushion and area to move.
Yeah. And I would say the other thing, and for those who can afford it, if you're really serious about running, try to do a running shoe rotation. And what that means is you want to have various shoes for the type of runs that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I have, much to my wife's chagrin, I think I've got about 7 shoes in my running shoe rotation that I literally, like if I'm doing a tempo run, if I'm doing a threshold run, if I'm doing an easy run, a recovery run, a VO2 max run, I literally have different shoes for each of those.
Well, and I would assume you would need different shoes for trail runs too, because you need different grips.
Those are completely different. Yeah. And I've got several in that rotation based on what type of running I'm doing. If I'm doing like a really technical trail, or if I'm doing something that's just going to be like a really soft pack, those are going to be different shoes. But the big thing I find is with the running shoe rotation for the roads on the road side is because I race on the trail, but my training is still road. So when I say I retire from the road, I just meant that I retire from racing on the road. Yeah. But it just really has helped me minimize the injuries. All those little like nags and pains and aches that you get. When you rotate your shoes, you don't really get those. Yeah.
Well, and I will say too, to the run walk situation, I trained for a half marathon in 2012, and I was a former athlete, college athlete. So in my mind, if I did not run the whole thing, I was not doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Like then I didn't even do it. And so I ran my first half marathon. I ran the whole thing. I barely stopped for water because I was like, I have to run. So I only stopped at the water breaks or whatever. But then the next year I ran with my mom, and she does run walk. And I never felt better. I was like, when I was running faster because I was rested. And then at the end of the race, I was like, my joints feel great. I'm not tired. And I did the same mileage. Like, my time was a little bit slower, but I also got to stay with my mom the whole time. So it's just a totally different
And you have
journey.
fun.
Yeah. So I wasn't like focused, like, must have a good time. Have a good time.
Nobody was paying you to do that run.
Nobody cared. No one cared or saw me and was like, oh, she's barely running. Like, no one was watching me. It was all in my own head. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but I appreciate you sharing those tips and tricks. Let's talk a little bit about your real estate journey. What got you, so from the Air Force, first of all, thank you very much for your service. I appreciate you. What got you to transition into real estate?
So I went from active duty Air Force to, take it all the back. I'm gonna bore your audience here.
No, never.
We're in Oregon, but I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. So that's where that whole Detroit Lion fandom comes from.
Yeah.
I'm a huge diehard Lions fan. Go Lions! Love my Pistons. Love my Red Wings. Love my my Tigers. Michigan football, go blue. All right, so that's my plug for the home state.
Yeah.
So anyway, graduated from high school, went to the Air Force Academy. Graduated from the academy. I was stationed in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I was a nuclear launch officer up there, 5 years in North Dakota. During that time, the Air Force paid for me to go to grad school to get my MBA. And during the 90s, so I graduated from college in 1990, giving away my age. They paid for me to go to get my MBA. During that time, the the first dot-com boom was taking place. And so if you were a service academy grad, because we're engineers, our undergrads are in Bachelor of Science, then combine that with a master's degree, we were hot commodities in the tech world. So all of a sudden, headhunters are calling and they're saying, hey, you can make 3 times your captain's salary and you don't have to live in North Dakota. My wife was like, done, easy decision.
Yeah.
So now that being said, I love the Air Force. I really did enjoy serving, but 3 times on a captain's salary, it was kind of an easy decision.
Yeah, for sure.
So then I was working in corporate America in the tech world. We were in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Okay.
And I started in a new division for this company I was working for there. Did really well in my first couple of years, and to the point where one of the competitors recruited me to come and join them. It's like, hey, I'm only going to come if you can send me to Silicon Valley. It's like, I want to be ground zero for tech. They were like, done. So went to go work for this company, moved to San Francisco to the Bay Area, and did really well there, to the point where the company I left came back and made me an offer I couldn't refuse to come back. Moved us down. I took over a division down in San Diego, and we lived down there. And then that company eventually moved me up here to Oregon, which is where they're headquartered, to take over another division. So that was people always ask, how did you go from Detroit to Oregon?
Yeah.
So that's how we did it.
Yeah.
So several stops in between. So I was in corporate America. I managed the couple of strategic national sales teams. I managed a marketing organization. And then my last job was director of worldwide sales operations. So I was managing teams in multiple countries. On the plane, this is before Zoom and all that stuff. And I call it my early midlife crisis, where I was just burned out. I was burned out of traveling. I was burned out in playing the whole game. I was burned out of being away from my kids, who were very young at that time. I mean, they were, just like barely toddlers or something.
Yeah.
So it was, for me, like I said, early midlife crisis. And I was like, I got to do something different. This is killing me. So each of those stops that we had, and the reason I'm giving all this background, because there is a point. All the places that we live, we always bought and sold homes, and so we had this we had this experience with really good realtors. We had the experience with bad realtors, but at that time when I started in real estate in 2003, I was like, I think I could leverage my corporate experience and my tech experience, and I think I can hit the ground running pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I talked my wife into joining me. She was a stay-at-home mom at the time. She came from education. So, I mean, her doctor is education, her master's is in education. So she took time off to raise her kids. And I say, hey, honey, do this with me for 5 years. It's like, I just want to have a competitive differentiator. We're going to be the husband and wife team. And I really needed her, like on a disc profile, I'm a high D. And she's an SC, and I needed that SC, needed that balance. Yeah. So she's like, fair enough, I'll give you 5 years. And you can talk to her. She literally, to the day,
I've heard her say
5 years. Yeah. She was like, 5 years, out of here. She already had a job set up. She went right back to teaching. Yeah. So that's how we did it. And the reason I did it, again, like I said, is at that time, I thought this was a profession that I could hit the ground running pretty quickly. So I hate to say this, and I shouldn't even say this and have it recorded, but a lot of people are like, oh, I just love homes and I love, watching HGTV and all that. No, that's not why I picked it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
no, same. We have kind of similar backgrounds in the way that I came from marketing and corporate world, and I led sales teams and I led marketing teams, and kind of the same thing. Rylan was like 3, and I was like, I'm so tired of like paying so much money for somebody else to have her all day, like for daycare, and then also running myself ragged to make somebody else money. And then having to negotiate, like, Rylan has a dentist appointment. They're like, oh, I don't know. You got to be here on Thursday. And I'm like, but I was here Saturday, Sunday, and all the evenings.
Doesn't count.
Right. It doesn't matter. So I kind of had that same thing. I think the corporate background, well, you're already very disciplined before you were in corporate too, but the corporate background does give you that, like, you're just used to going to work every day. And so I think a lot of people that transition from a business background to real estate specifically do hit the ground running because they're already disciplined and you go to work. Thinking about moving to Oregon? Don't just Google it. Talk to someone who lives it. I help people relocate smoothly and confidently. Reach out and let's talk about your next move and make sure it makes sense for you.
Yeah, I
every day, and
I think you're used to the grind.
Task. Yeah.
You're used to the grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think some of the agents that struggle are the ones that didn't have to do self-starting and daily task or show up to an office every day. Those are the ones that are like, oh, maybe tomorrow. And we see that even at our at our brokerages and stuff. Like the agents that come in do really well, and the agents that don't come in all the time don't always do that great, especially if they're newer and they're.
Yeah, if you're new, I mean, any tips I can give here as we're going through this.
Totally.
If you are new to the industry, you need to be going in.
Yeah.
I mean, period. It's like you're going to learn from other people.
Yeah.
But it's also just getting those habits, like getting into these habits. I'm going to go in at this time. I'm going to be making my calls. I've got my to-do list. I'm checking these off. Like you have to get in the habit of doing that before it becomes, it's kind of like that 10,000 hour principle. Like you become an expert after 10,000 hours or something.
Right.
Well, get into that, 10,000 hours of going into the office and grinding.
Right. Absolutely. So. And you do learn so much by overhearing conversations. Even now, I'm not as seasoned as you. I'm on year 8, but I still overhear conversations. I'm like, oh, I've never had that situation happen. That was a really interesting topic. And then I'll always ask that agent, like, so what did they decide, or how'd you decide to fix it, or which way did they go? But you're always learning. That's what's kind of cool about our business.
Right.
It's constant learning. So after the first 5 years, how did you and Dwight pair up and decide to, was it you and Dwight or you and Peter? Or
it was actually Peter was the first. So it was, so my wife and I and a couple other agents, we started this office. And Keller Williams Portland Premier. And then I think it was literally probably within like 6 months, we got Peter to join us. So when you're starting off, especially when we started this off, there was nobody knew who Keller Williams was. I mean, they were not the largest company in the world or anything like that at that time. But there was no KW presence out here, I mean, on the West Coast, and specifically the Pacific Northwest. So when we started, there's a game, a playbook that KW has, especially for like these new territories. You've got to find yourself an icon agent that people are familiar with. Well, I mean, my wife and I had been in the business for 12 months. Nobody knew who the hell we were.
Right.
So we were not icons or anything. So we recruited Peter to be that icon agent. So Peter Clark actually joined us pretty much, I think it was about 6 months after we started. So he's pretty much he's still, he was one of the, he's one of the OG owners essentially. Yeah. And then then Dwight, I think was about 7 years later, 8 years later.
And then how did you make decisions together on like where to have the office or how to grow the office and things like that?
So when you're starting a new market center, you have to declare to international, this is the market area that we're looking to put our footprint in, because you got to make sure it doesn't overlap with any other market centers that are coming in or any that are established. At that time, we all lived in this area. So I live in Lake Oswego, and Peter, Dwight, everybody, we all live in this neighborhood here. So it was kind of natural for us as far as the location area. It's like this is our backyard. This is where we want to make sure that we establish our business and our reputation.
Sure.
So that was pretty easy there. As far as finding the specific location, it was, fortunately we had people on the team who had commercial real estate experience. So we were able to leverage that, but we didn't start in this location.
Right.
We started actually across the drive. I'm pointing here for people who are on listening to the podcast, but they're literally probably about 150 yards from this location. We were in a much smaller office, and that's where I think we were there for probably about 10 years. Yeah, 7 to 10 years. I forget.
What made you move down here?
We just grew way we grew way faster than we thought we were going to grow. So we just outgrew the space. So then this area here, or the building that we're in right now, was literally just a big, huge blank canvas. I think it was like a kids gymnastics center.
Oh, funny.
So that's, we're like, this looks really cool, but we literally had to have this vision of like what we wanted. So everything you see, all these offices, everything was built out. This was just one big, gigantic open space. Very cool. So our goal was, aesthetically, we're like, hey, if we can create something that kind of has that downtown, like Pearl District feel, and the suburbs,
which it does.
That was what we did. So that's why we went with the barn doors, and we went with the exposed ceilings and the beams, and it worked out really well, though.
Yeah. I always like to ask broker owners and people that have been in the industry for a while. So many people make decisions based off of fees, and I just disagree with that wholeheartedly, because I feel like you should choose a brokerage for lots of reasons outside of the fees. What kind of advice do you give people on what kind of questions they should ask a brokerage when they're interviewing, which brokerage they want to go with, or what things should they consider important besides just the fees?
So that's a really good point. Don't chase an office based on the fees. You want to chase an office based on what you think they're going to do to grow your business. The fees are just irrelevant if you're making money. If you're not making money, then all of a sudden that's when people start like, oh, geez, I'm not selling any houses. I got to cut this expense and that expense. I'm going to go to this other cheap rate brokerage here that doesn't provide services, and then next thing you know, those individuals are like out of the business. I mean, the turnover in our industry is huge. So many people get licensed because the barriers to entry are super low. They're 2 years and they're gone. They're out. And that's because when things are tough, they're chasing those fees so they can start cutting those expenses. So the things you want to look for, I think, is what type of services do they have that are going to help me actually hit the ground running quickly? What type of support am I going to receive once I do get a transaction or a deal or a client? And what type of ongoing training am I going to get? I mean, is the training just like, oh, well, perfect example. When we started in real estate, when my wife and I started in real estate, we started at RE/MAX. So we were a RE/MAX Equity Group.
I started at RE/MAX Equity Group too. Yeah.
So the location we're at is no longer here. It's over in Tualatin. And I remember at the time I was like, okay, I just want to learn as much as I can. That's just my mentality, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going to my managing broker and I was like, okay, what should I be learning right now? What classes should I be taking? And she was like, well, you should probably get this designation and this designation. And it's like, that was essentially the training they provided at that time. Now, this is, I'm not knocking RE/MAX or anything like that. This is 24 years ago, and this is how things were done. Yeah. Right. It was very normal, right? And I did. So at one point, I think I had every designation that NAR, like everything. Yeah. And I remember when, and this is not a plug for KW, but I remember when KW approached us and I said, the question they asked is like, what do you want to do? Like, what type of business do you want to have? Do you want to do X amount of business, or as far as volume, do you want to do X amount of commission? How big do you want to be? How small do you want to be? And when I started asking or answering those questions, they came back and like, okay, here's the playbook for this. Here's the training for this. Here's the training for this. At that time, that was a revolutionary thing. Like companies just didn't really do that. So and I bring that up because when you're looking for an office, no matter where it is, and I feel like most of your major companies have really good training nowadays. Right. But how often are they providing that training? Do they bring experts in? Do they have people in the office who are providing that type of training?
And the variety of training.
Exactly. How often do they have that training? So if you're a new agent ask to see the training calendar. It's like, I want to see your training calendar for this month and next month. I want to know what type of attrition do you have? What's the turnover? It's like, okay, you recruit, you have this many agents who are coming in. How many are actually sticking? What's the retention rate?
Yeah.
That is a sign of...
Well, that tells you a lot.
It tells you a lot. This tells you how effective that office is at really producing and training their agents. Because if you're doing well, you're going to stick around.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So those are the type of questions I would ask.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I really, I just cringe when someone's like, oh, I left because the fee was this. And I'm like, that's it? That's the only... What? The fee is not the problem.
No.
The business is the problem.
Exactly.
And a lot of times, and again, we're not trying to diss anybody, but the lower fee brokerages tend not to have as much support training. There's a reason they're the lower fees. So if you're not doing well at a brokerage with a little bit higher fees because they provide all these things, you're not going to do well at the brokerage that doesn't have those things.
Absolutely.
It's more about applying what's available to you.
That being said, as president of our 18,000 agents, I support all brokerages in the state of Oregon.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your leadership journey. That was a good segue. What was your first major leadership role within Oregon Realtors or PMAR? Is this a recent journey for you, or did you dabble a little bit along the way?
No, not at all. This is all very recent for me. What is this? Like I said, this is 23 years, going into 24 years or so. I can honestly say the first 17, 18, it was just about my business and growing my team. And I had a pretty large team. We did, lots of transactions. That was all my focus. It was just about managing my team and the market center here.
Sure.
So I never knew anything about what realtors were doing behind the scenes so that I could do what I was doing.
Yeah. And
I would say that's probably 99% of agents out there. They just have no idea that you get to do what you're doing because there was this cadre of agents behind the scenes who are volunteering their time to protect your industry, protect our profession, and to protect our clients, our buyers and our sellers, and the community. I had no idea.
Yeah. And so many don't. Many have no.
And so I don't fault them for not knowing. It's I didn't know.
Well, you don't know until you do. I was the same. I was definitely an agent that was like, what are all these fees for? Why am I paying these fees? And now when someone says, I'm like, well, did you know? And I can say all the reasons why you're paying the fees. Yes. So what got you, what caught your attention, or how did you get involved?
So what got me it's the classic tap on the shoulder. Somebody tapping me on the shoulder. So when I really got involved, it was interesting because I was working, and I tell this story too, because it was all about timing as well. And I was working on my doctorate, and I was taking this one particular course, and I was doing some research. I read this one peer-reviewed study, and it talked about how African-American home ownership was at its lowest level since 1968.
Oh, gosh.
And I sat back, and I'm like, holy smokes, really? 1968? That is crazy. Now, this is when the market was on fire, right? I was like, this is insane. And so then I really, just some self-reflection, I was like, okay, this industry has been really good to me. I've done very well. It's time for me to give back and start, and pay it forward so that, I could do something about that particular disparity. So around that same time, all of a sudden I get this call from Drew Coleman, and Drew started in the business probably about a year before I did. So, always been tracking him. I knew Drew, didn't know him well, but I saw him pivot into the governance space, and then I just get this call. He's like, hey, Tony, we need you. It's time for you to step up. I was like, Drew, your timing could not be more perfect. I literally just read this article, and I was just thinking to myself, what can I do to help? And that was really the tap that I needed to really kind of start my journey. Yeah. So I started off at what used to be the Master Circle, which is now the Circle of Excellence at PMAR. And then I transitioned from that to PMAR and got on the board at PMAR.
For those of you that aren't familiar with PMAR, just because not everybody that's listening is in the industry.
Good correction.
It's our local association within the Portland Metro.
Yes. So the Portland Metropolitan Association of Realtors. Yeah. So I got involved on the board of directors there, and then eventually became president of PMAR. Yeah. And then once I was was doing that simultaneously with getting involved at the state level. So I served on the Diversity Key Committee and then moved over to the Government Affairs Key Committee, which is our advocacy arm for Oregon Realtors, which is the state association, just above the local association.
Right.
And then through that, I was able to get on a national committee for NAR, and I've served on a couple of different national committees.
Yeah.
So that kind of started the journey, and then once you get involved,
and through all of it, you were getting your doctorate.
I was,
just to add an extra level.
Yeah, and also trying to sell homes every now and then. So,
what has been some things that have surprised you along the way with your leadership journey within the association or with Oregon Realtors in general?
I would say the more involvement I had at the state and national level, the more I saw how much we did for our industry and our profession and for the community.
Yeah.
As you start volunteering and you start meeting all these other individuals across the nation, and you realize, like, holy smokes, they're doing this, they're meeting with their representatives or senators, they're meeting with their the governors of their states. And then all of a sudden you get those opportunities to do so as well. And you just realize we do a ton that people don't know about.
Oregon real estate is hyper local, neighborhood to neighborhood. It matters. If you want insider knowledge, not just guesswork, please call me and let's make your next move smooth. Give just a few examples of things that we've done in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would say every year there's an ongoing battle, and people don't realize this, is for, like, say, the mortgage interest deduction. You know, like, there's always some type of effort. In fact, we have it going on right now at the State House, where there's legislation to get rid of MID on second homes, right? And I'm just going to say right now, that effort started off, they want to get rid of it on primary residences, which will literally take thousands of dollars out of people's pockets. Yeah. At a time when the affordability is a major issue in the first place, right? Yes. So anyway, won't go too deep in that, but that will be an example of something that affects buyers or owners on a national level. Yeah. The other thing, perfect example, during COVID, we take it for granted that our state were, as far as realtors, we were deemed as essential. And so that was not the case across the country. Right. Like, there were lots of states where realtors, transactions stopped and realtors were just out of work during the whole COVID time. Yeah. That is an example of the advocacy that we had on the state level to make sure that we were deemed essential workers. Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't know if your business was like, but during that time, people were buying and selling homes. Yeah. Right?
Well, nothing is a rude awakening like being stuck somewhere with your whole family. So before, and I'm not saying that people don't like their families, but it's totally different when everyone's trying to do meetings and schoolwork all in one space, that they've never had to do that before. And when everyone was stuck at home, they were like, we need a bigger house, or we need a house that's set up differently. And so people are like, we can't do this. And also they were nervous about, like, how long are we going to be working from home? Like, this can't be we can't all be at the kitchen table trying to be on our laptops at the same time. This isn't working. So yeah, it was really busy. So busy that a lot of people got into the industry.
A ton of people left. Did. Well, that's a perfect, when you look at our numbers at that point, statewide, we were like over 20,000 agents. Now we're back down to about 16, 17,000. Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of people jumped in during that time, but that never would have happened. Literally, states were shut down. Yeah. They were states that were completely shut down during that time. So that's just one example as far as, like, legislation behind the scene. There's constant legislation on the permitting side when it comes down to easing some of the restrictions that are unnecessary or adding restrictions that we think need to be in place. Those are the things that we work on as a trade organization at NAR. Yeah, and when we advocate, I think a lot of people don't realize we advocate for so much home ownership opportunities and things that will impact home ownership, but also just, like, kind of what we talked about with COVID, the ability to do our jobs, or the impact, like, healthcare. We've gone to the legislation multiple times about being 1099 employees and how to provide better healthcare, so we don't have all these realtors running around with no healthcare or minimal healthcare.
So when they fall down trying to reach a lockbox, like how are they being covered and things like that. So we're advocating on like the industry as a whole too.
Absolutely.
Which is so important.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things that people don't understand, and I think they're starting, especially our politicians are starting to understand on a national level, is that the number one generator of generational wealth or creation of generational wealth is home ownership.
Absolutely.
Here in the United States.
Yeah.
And that's what we do at NARs. We're protecting that particular aspect, that, the American dream of being able to own a home, but being able to own a home so that we can create generational wealth.
Yeah.
And this is something, again, when I read that study in 1968 and Black home ownership being at its lowest point, it hit me because that all of a sudden is this huge generational wealth ability that my people just were not really participating in.
Yeah.
And that was huge.
Yeah.
So
what are some other things that have stuck out to you in just the most recent years that you wish realtors knew more about or would educate themselves on a little bit more?
It really just goes back to advocacy. I just wish they understood the importance of constantly advocating for our profession, for our industry, and for our community. That is the biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
So
same. Well, and you don't have to get involved as far as like run for president or be on the board, but just even coming to the annual meetings and like learning what PMAR is doing, learning what Oregon Realtor is doing, or even NAR. It's amazing to me in the Facebook groups on social media when people are like, well, when NAR screwed us in the lawsuit, and I'm like, they protected you. They saved you. I don't think you understand the lawsuit. Things like that.
They really don't.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. I will say this. So, I was talking about social media as far as on the running side, and don't fall prey to what you read in social media. For those in our profession, so for our members of Oregon Realtors,
listen up. Dr. Tony is about to tell you something.
Please be careful when you're engaging in all these Facebook groups for real estate.
Yeah.
Don't get sucked into, there's so much misinformation that is being shared, and then people just get spun up and they just get all excitable about something that they don't really know what the hell they're talking about. I was just to be honest.
Yeah, don't share someone else's opinion as it's a matter of fact, because that's what's happening. People are stating their opinions in some of these groups, and then other agents are repeating it like, well, did you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that wasn't facts. That was so-and-so's opinion.
Most of it is not facts.
Yeah.
So when you talked about the settlement, I'm like, why didn't NAR fight for? We lost.
Yeah.
This isn't a matter of, hey, we came up with this, we're going to do this. We lost a lawsuit. They deliberated for less than 2 hours. In other words, we got our asses handed to us.
Yeah.
So
it was a no-brainer to them.
Yeah. So there's no like, we settled. Like, no, we didn't settle. We lost.
Yeah.
So after we lost, now we had to regroup and figure out what we're going to do. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that people understand there's a lot of misinformation. They're like, well, why didn't they fight harder? It's like, no, we lost.
Yeah. So there's only so much you can do. Once a verdict is made, there's only so much that you can do.
And so then it became, the settlement was in the billions, not with an M, but with a B.
Right.
We got that knocked down to the millions.
Right.
Otherwise, NAR as you know it today probably is not here.
Right. Well, and part of what they included in the suit was protecting individuals. So then there couldn't be all these like sub-suits after.
All the copycats.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing that we were able to negotiate. It's like, for people, again, they just don't understand this. It's like, if we did not settle when it came down to the amount and actually being able to figure out like how to get that B removed and get it down to an M. The other thing was the follow-on protections for all the offices, including the mom and pop offices across the nation. So the settlement literally protected our industry as it is today. Like you are functioning today and doing your job today because NAR made the tough decisions of settling on what the punishment essentially would be,
right? Not
the verdict. Right. The verdict was we got our asses kicked.
Yeah. Well, and if we're being really transparent and honest, for anybody that's listening, like, what lawsuit? What are they talking about? The lawsuit was really around transparency and agents not communicating properly. Mm-hmm. And NAR protected you after making the mistake. NAR didn't necessarily make that mistake. Agents out in the field are the ones that like sparked the lawsuit because of their practices and things. So now we have a much more transparent form and process so that hopefully this won't be an issue going forward.
I would say, and that's a really important point, because as painful as that was to go through, mm-hmm. and it was like, okay, I was president. I think I was president of PMAR the first time around during that time. All of a sudden, trust me, my life went upside down. Yeah. So like I'm dealing with things that previous presidents had not had to deal with. Yeah. They got to go on like I call it the beauty pageant show for a year. It's like Hello. I'm doing like, how do we save this industry? How do we save our profession? How do we save the association? Right. What are we going to do type of thing? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, though, as painful as that was, what came out of that, this is a better industry with better practices mm-hmm. and more professionalism than it was beforehand. Yeah. So talking to the realtors out there, especially if you were a buyer's agent, mm-hmm. how many times did you get stood up for a showing mm-hmm. because you got some internet lead, they call you up mm-hmm. and they're like, oh, I want to go see this house. And then you like show up at the house and they're not there. Or you show up at the house, you show them this house and then they ghost you. And like a week later, you finally touch base with them. They're like, oh yeah, we wrote an offer with like, mm-hmm. my mom's sister's, hairdresser who just got her real estate license. Yeah. And so you're like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Those days are gone because of the practices that we put in place mm-hmm. after the settlement. Mm-hmm. So now buyer's agents, you have to have a contract with your buyers, just like you do on the selling side. Yeah. Those are all good things.
They are.
At the time, when we were putting those in place, there was lots of gnashing of teeth and people mm-hmm. were like, oh my God, the sky's falling. It's like, it's all good.
It is. And it really goes back to, can you speak to your value? If you can, the buyer broker agreement shouldn't be like troubling to you because you're just explaining the home buying process and how it works and what you're providing them and why they should sign it with you. It's no different than a listing appointment.
And I think you, myself, and those of us who came from maybe the corporate world, mm-hmm. we were like, well, this is easy. This is my value. Mm-hmm. If I'm not selling my value, then I don't deserve to get this particular buyer, right? Yeah. So it was kind of easy for us.
And I don't know about you, but I had talked about it. I had always talked about with my clients how I get paid because that's always a question. Absolutely. Even on the buy side. It was just not a form I was presenting, but I would explain that like sometimes the seller offer at that time, do not quote me, this is not the current practice. But
don't talk about commission rates.
Yeah. I was like, at that time I would say in the listing, it may or not be listed of what the seller is offering to pay on your behalf. And if in the event you find a property that doesn't offer that, then we would have a different conversation at that time. So it was just a totally different conversation. Now you just have a piece of paper that's like very crystal clear going forward.
Very crystal clear. And you're like, hey, and everything's negotiable. And that's my job. My job is to negotiate.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's why I always say too, like, interview a couple agents for the non-real estate professionals listening that are home buyers and sellers. I always recommend interview a couple agents and ask them if they'll cut their commission. And if they negotiate with you like that, don't hire that guy. Don't hire that girl. Don't hire that guy. Because if they're not going to advocate for their own paycheck, their own way that they're providing for their family, they sure as heck aren't going to advocate for you.
Absolutely not. They're looking for easy money.
Yeah. Or they don't believe in their skill set enough to back up, like, this is why I charge XYZ because I provide this and this and this and I run these ads or whatever. If they're like, oh, sure, yeah, that percent, yeah, whatever you want, they're not going to really do the job that you want done. So just something to think about if you're looking to buy or sell.
That is an excellent point.
What about anybody that's like a little bit nervous about getting into leadership or not really sure? I know for me, I kind of like you, someone tapped me on the shoulder for Women's Council, and being a part of Women's Council of Realtors is what really opened my eyes to like, oh, that's what's going on at Oregon Realtors? Oh, that's what's going on at PMAR? And then you and I are both huge fans of the Oregon Leadership Academy. Go Class 24.
Class of 23. Best of all time.
We'll see. But there are other ways to get involved. But what are some pieces of advice you would give an agent that's like, I want to know more, but I'm not ready to sign up?
Absolutely. Well, you touched on one of them, and that is my advice is, before let's say you're not quite ready to volunteer at the local association level, I would say find an affinity group that you feel like, okay, I identify with them. I have a passion for what they're trying to do. I want to roll up my sleeves and get involved with one of my affinity groups. And so an affinity group would be like the Women's Council, the NARAB, or the National Association of Real Estate Brokers for African or for Blacks, NAREP, National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, ARIA for the Asian American Real Estate Professionals, and then there's the LGBTQ plus Alliance. And so you have these different real estate affinity groups. Get involved with them, volunteer. You know, they have fun, they do community service, and then maybe you're like, okay, I feel like I have a passion on the advocacy side now. So then I would say probably get involved with your local association. So here in the Portland metro area, that would be PMAR, and they have a very robust advocacy engine over there because they're dealing with, you know, Portland politics. And so some of the challenges that we face on the state level are completely echoed on the Portland metropolitan side.
Absolutely.
Probably even more so as far as some of the challenging politics there. So that's a great space to actually get involved if you are passionate about that. And then I would say, you know, don't be shy about getting involved at the state level. It's not like, because you can join, each of these associations has different committees, and you can serve in these committees without saying, oh, I want to be president of this organization. Just get involved. Just roll up your sleeves and get involved.
Yeah, and sometimes getting involved is just being a person at the table that helps represent your area. So that's what I love about fall and spring governance is agents from all over the state come to these meetings, and we talk about things that are going on across the state, because things that are happening in Redmond might not be happening in Portland, but it's good for us to know about it too and like cross talk about it, because a lot of our decisions that we make impact everybody.
Absolutely.
But if you are in the Portland Metro, the 5 affinity groups are a great way to start. We don't have them all across the state yet. It is a goal for most of our affinity groups to continue to grow. So if you're interested and you're in a different area and you want one of these groups in your area, let me know and I'll connect you with leaders within them. And then also YPN is always a good one too.
I always forget about YPN. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
probably because I'm just so old. They
for
won't
the
have
young
me.
professionals, which by the way is 30 and under. I got asked to speak. They're like, why aren't you more involved in YPN? And I was like, I'm 43. And they're like, what? But you have a podcast. And I was like, are you guys saying I'm cool? Does that mean I'm cool? Awesome. So I appreciate you so much. I know you're super busy. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast.
This has been fun.
I would love to have you back. He has quite the Scotch palate, and so I'd love to explore that next time that you're on.
So what I want to do, if the likes or whatever they're called for this podcast,
subscribe, like, and follow.
Yes,
people.
If they go in the positive arena, then please have me back. I'll take you down to my to the Oregon Wine Reserve in Lake Oswego, and we'll do this interview, but we'll do it over Scotch. I'll give you a quick tour of Scotland, and you'll have a good time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Cheers.
All right.
Tony.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and for watching. I will see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.